Time to get. Fuck's sake! Chatbot, disconnect. Whee, you've ruined it for yourselves. Good after morning for definitely the first time today. This is definitely not a second attempt at this because Sky shit the bed on the internet before we even got into talking about the stories. It's definitely the first time. And this is definitely the first time that I've told you that my name is Graham and this is Bib and we are Ice Cream Uploads and it's definitely the UK's #1 video game podcast if we do say so ourselves. Hi, Bib.
Hi, Graham.
Yeah, you're right.
How are we doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Do you know what? I'm not too bad because we are live on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads, where we go live each and every single weekday at 10 a.m.
Ish.
It's now almost 5 to 2. Which is close to 10. That's fine. That's where we got to before the internet shit itself last time. Anyway, it's not about the live stream only, though. It's important that if you are in the stream, though, you do feel free to get involved because over the next hour or so, we will be bringing you the biggest, the best, and the breaking stories from the world of video games. We'll give you our thoughts and impressions, and we want your thoughts and impressions, and your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions. That's kind of how the whole thing works. If you're in the chat, please do feel free to get involved because it's turned into a podcast, a video on YouTube, and an audio podcast on iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud and Google Play. That is a lot of places where nearly 200,000 people have watched and listened to this podcast on demand, split into 12 parts because Sky shits the bed each and every single fucking weekday. But we'll leave that. It's fine. It's fine. We're not angry. You're angry. What are you getting angry for? So yeah, we are going to run through the biggest stories of the world of video games now. Grab yourself a seat. We will pick them apart, and we want you to pick them apart with us. But before we do that, shout out to our buddies. You will have seen from Baby's Instagram story all of the sponsors. Nice.
Yeah!
We have exclamation mark Astro, which won't work in the chat. Exclamation mark GT Omega, which won't work in the chat. And exclamation mark insert coin, which also won't work in the chat. Because I've disabled chatbot because JMK just was trolling us was trying to start the show. Nice. Look at that. Bibby McGee over there. Bibby McGee, let's go.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Graham. It's something that we haven't actually done in it before, but I'm going to put the zoom in on me. Do you know what I mean? Get Big Bib in there so it doesn't... I know we love to show the studio off. They can all see it and stuff like that, but compared to you, when it's quite zoomed, I look a fucking million miles away. So I'm going to go over there. I'm going to zoom it in. And then we're going to go from there. What about that?
That sounds good. Yeah, let's do it. Do it. Okay. Now we've had JMK in the naughty corner for a few minutes. Chatbot is connected again. So now you can use chatbot again. 12 Ed's typing it, even though I've already told him it's off. It's now on. You can't do it when it's off. Try again. So I'll do it for you.
Fucking hell, size of this moth.
There you go. You're welcome. Fucking hell, size of this moth. It's looking good. Let's jump into the split screen.
Oh, we're looking. Hey. Does that look okay or what?
Yeah, that is a much better balance. You're not like some tiddly micro machine, whereas I'm like a full-size car kind of thing. Oh, here we go.
Tilt it down a little bit now.
Here we go.
Boy, let's go. Yeep 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 meep 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 yeep 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 meep 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 yeep 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 meep meep meep. Been playing Atomic Heart, him now a robot yeep meep.
Nice. Thank you very much for that detailed information there, Enix. We appreciate yeep 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 meep 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 meep. Been playing Atomic Heart, I'm now a robot. Yeep 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 meep meep. Nice. Nice. Appreciate 31 months as well, Enix. You beautiful man. Thank you very much, dude. Sorry, you were saying tilting what now?
I can move the camera over a little bit because I can see here there's a lot more grain, and I can tilt it down just a little bit too. Are you happy with how it is now? Because obviously you've got the raw feed. I don't know if you can do anything with that.
Have just absolute smashed lasagna on my side. Yeah, I'm still connected and everything. You just went from being pristine and crisp and clear to you look like someone's painted you in watercolors and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we kind of at the peril and at the mercy of upstairs not downloading anything, which I think there is a lot of downloading that's taking place today.
Oh, well, it is what it is. There you go. You're crispy again. You're coming back. They must have finished the first file. Let's go. Let's go before we get you into another file. Why does Bibby look like a Switch remake?
Fucking D-make.
Oh.
Do we need to change anything, or are you happy with how it is?
No, it's good. It's good. I mean, I would move you over marginally because you're not quite central, but it's fine. It's fine. For what it is, we'll sort that for next time.
Love it.
For now, though, we'll jump into some stories, though. We are going to talk about, speaking of the Switch, do you say Switch remake? What about a Switch successor? The lead story that we have is from Ars Technica, which says, did the UK government just accidentally leak Nintendo Switch's successor? Imagine that. Imagine that. The regulator, the people that are trying to make sure that you're conducting business properly, have just leaked your biggest announcement in 7 years. Imagine.
Leave it to the British to fuck that up for you.
After that, keeping to the same sort of storyline, Microsoft and Nintendo once again, but this time it's signing a 10-year agreement for Call of Duty. So this is ahead of the EU hearing on Activision Blizzard deal today. So later on today, there will be a hearing on that, and Microsoft and Nintendo have signed a massive agreement. We'll talk about what that could mean. Sony then thought, you know what, fuck those guys. I'm going to go out and spend some cash myself, and they've reportedly acquired a new studio called Ballistic Moon. We'll go through that. And Bungie wins a $4.3 million case. That's an arbitration against a Destiny 2 cheat creator. So big old money, big old moves. The whole thing is pretty much money based today, which, you know, it's just video games. It's just what it is. Big money. Want to point out as well.
Okay.
Because you were away from the desk, you might not have heard it. Despite 12 trying to come in and start the banter with us about the intro, he called it starting soon, which was a bit awkward. So he's let himself down there.
Okay.
He then, when I was telling everyone that the chatbot was off, and I'll put it back on now because JMK ruined it for everyone. But it's been on the naughty step for long enough. He was then using commands mid me telling that. So 12 Ed, I know you had a 24-hour stream on the weekend, but you probably should have gone to sleep a little bit after that. You're starting soon and commands when chatbot's off. Life is good, yes? Very good.
I did try and join your stream afterwards, 12 Ed. It was like, it would have been after 24 hours. It like 24 and a half hours, and obviously it wasn't live. So I did my bit. I tried to join after the fact. I have attributed to your VOD analytics.
Hi. just a bit of text after the fact. Oh fuck, he's not here.
Yeah.
I used to do that all the time. I like the Vernimator. He doesn't stream on Twitch anymore, but he used to stream old school PES. Well, I say old school. It was before the eFootball days. I think he probably streamed eFootball as well, but he used to stream eFootball PES. And I remember dropping into his streams while he was streaming in an afternoon, going hi, and then realizing that I'm just chatting to myself because he's just done a replay of his previous stream. Like fuck's sake. So yeah. Fun times. I've had a fucking nightmare. We've all done it, 12. It's Alreet. I'll tell you who else has had a nightmare. Nintendo. That's us jumping into the news, just in case you didn't realise. There you go. This one is written by Kyle Orland at Ars Technica, which is, I believe, the first time Ars Technica has been featured on the Scoop, so GG's.
Supplied by your brother as well.
Yeah, that's massively surprising. The first time we get a tech-based news source and it comes from David. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. So a telltale and in a CMA report appendix has speculation running wild is the tagline. Mission successful? Nice. Refresh again. I think we're back. Can you see us? Refresh. This, do you know what? It's already gone down twice, and we've only been doing this for 27 minutes. So this could be a tedious old stream today. So we apologise to absolutely nobody because, I mean, if you're not used to it by now, then you need to check yourself because this has been going on for about 18 months. So yeah, I'll try to go back into the article and then we'll start it again. I'll go through the title and then we'll hit the actual rest of the article. So did the UK government just accidentally leak Nintendo Switch's successor? The article says, as the Nintendo Switch approaches the 6th anniversary of its launch, Nintendo has been extremely coy about the prospects for a true successor to the console. No, The Switch OLED doesn't count. This week, though, a stray redaction in a government document regarding the proposed Microsoft-Activision merger has some industry watchers speculating that the announcement of a Switch successor could be coming in the near future. All that speculation focuses on a single line blurred in 43 sprawling pages of appendices in a report from the UK's CMA, which recently came down against Microsoft's planned Activision or acquisition of Activision. Nice. Little bit of a tongue teaser there, just in the middle of it. Let's go. In discussing services that could plausibly compete with the cloud gaming features of Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass, David, never send me an Ars Technica article because they do not know how to properly, like all their sentences are polysyllabic words that are stupidly long. Fuck's sake! Anyway. So, in discussing services that could plausibly compete with the cloud gaming features of Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass, not even the end of a sentence, the appendix notes that Nintendo Switch Online is only available on the Nintendo Switch device and redacted. So, Nintendo Switch Online is only available on the Switch and redacted. Something else has access to Switch Online. That telltale and is interesting, of course, because Nintendo Switch Online is currently only available on the Nintendo Switch, as the name implies. The CMA redaction following that and could easily describe a forthcoming console that Nintendo doesn't want formally announced via a regulatory filing, e.g. available on the Nintendo Switch device and another console Nintendo is currently developing. Nintendo has hinted at this kind of forward-looking online account continuity in the past too. In a late 2020 investor presentation, Nintendo shared a slide explicitly stating that the current Nintendo account and its value-added services, e.g. Nintendo Switch Online, would continue to be available and expand through the company's integrated hardware-software Next gaming system to be released in the amorphous 20XX, as in 2000 and years. So while some take this as solid confirmation of a Nintendo Switch Pro in the works, that's not the only possible explanation. The redaction could be completely unrelated to Nintendo's plans and simply be an overzealous protection of an unrelated clause, e.g. available on the Nintendo Switch device and not directly competitive with Microsoft's Game Pass. Or maybe the redaction hides plans for Nintendo to extend Nintendo Switch Online's library of classic games onto mobile phones and or PCs, e.g. available on the Switch device and mobile/PC platforms in the near future. Offering official emulators on mobile and PC platforms would be a first for Nintendo. You know what? We'll stop there. We don't need to go down any more of this long, complex, and extremely overwritten article. Kyle ORLAND at Ars Technica. Woo, settle down, mate. Commas are your friend, but so are full stops. We know you're smart people, but you don't always have to. We're talking yesterday, I think, where someone used the synonym in one of the titles to change like previous to earlier or something like that, which just made it stupid. Yeah. The whole article's been synonymed for polysyllabic words. God damn. But Nintendo has their online offering available on Switch and redacted. Thoughts, Bib?
Yeah, I mean, does it even have to be a Nintendo console that they're talking about? Could it be a feature, a Nintendo Switch, a Nintendo Online, what's it called? Nintendo something online? I can't remember.
The virtual console stuff?
Yeah. Do you reckon that can just be on Nintendo? Do you reckon Xbox could be partnering up with them to bring it over to, not necessarily Game Pass, but an added feature onto their console? I think it's more likely that it is going to be a new console. But I mean, at this moment in time, I wouldn't specifically rule it out.
I mean, a couple of years ago, okay, did the UK Gov just leak the Switch 2 ? That fits in the discussing now. Nice. A couple of years ago, or maybe a few years ago, if you'd have asked me, could Switch stuff be appearing on the Xbox? Or could Game Pass be appearing on the Switch? I was thinking, do you know what? Possibly. Because Xbox and Nintendo cooperated pretty early on to get crossplay in for Fortnite. That's where crossplay all kicked off. They were clearly having conversations there. Switch wasn't really embedded in the hearts and minds of video gamers. And then it started to take off. And then we got lockdown. And then we had that massive Animal Crossing boom. And now Nintendo Switch has just gone from strength to strength. I say a couple of years ago. It was more like 4 years ago. As we were starting the scoop kind of thing, 5 years ago-ish sort of time. It was in that period where they first started to find their feet. So at that point in time, do I think Game Pass could have arrived on Nintendo? Possibly. At this point in time, because of how restrictive Nintendo still are with their own IP and so on, I'm not sure about seeing Game Pass on Switch, but Switch titles on Xbox maybe. I feel like having Game Pass could hurt them, because you're not going to get your Doom Eternal ports to Switch if you can just play it through Game Pass and things like that. So I'm not sure Switch would be open to that, because that would rob them of third-party opportunities, which obviously we know is a big thing for driving hardware. I know Nintendo relies heavily on their first-party stuff, but if you're just left with the first-party stuff and no potential of third-party, I think that ruins Nintendo. So, but coming back to this, the Nintendo Online, what did they call it? The Switch on Nintendo Switch Online.
I didn't think it had the word Switch in there, but clearly it does. Nintendo Switch Online, yeah.
So Nintendo Switch Online is only available on the Switch device and redacted. It could be something else that's completely irrelevant and not even saying it as another console. But it could be that they are planning to put it elsewhere. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo, for a premium, are selling their services on another platform. I wouldn't be surprised in that. I also don't think that is going to happen, though. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think it is going to happen. I think Nintendo will probably be like, okay, we have been smashing the shit out of this generation. We have sold the third most pieces of hardware for this console than any other console in history. We don't really need to sell our stuff to be elsewhere, unless they're thinking, okay, sales are slowing down, changing generation to generation, even though you might be on the most successful generation that you've ever had, is tricky. As we saw, going from PS2, the most sold console in history, to PS3, which for a lot of people was a bit of a because it was a fucking complex thing to develop for, and all the rest that comes with that. So,
I mean, let's not forget the games that are on the Nintendo Switch Online are games that are not being sold anymore. They are, well, not being sold by them first party. It's the games that are being sold in like CEX or eBay or something like that. That might be worth something, but in terms of the games that are actually on those systems, I don't want to say they're irrelevant games now, because there is a lot of games on there that are Mount Rushmore games. You know what I mean? But you can't buy them digitally. There's no way of you been able to do that. So they are kind of, what can they do with them? Like, there's no Pokemon games on there. They've just got like the original Mario, the original Super Tennis or whatever it's called, like Donkey Kong, like all these games that can't be played anywhere else at this moment in time, but they can't sell anywhere else either. So it's a service that if Xbox, for instance, wanted to say, okay, well, we'll give you $1 million. Like, I don't know how much these are genuinely worth.
69 million
pence.
Oh yeah, that's it.
To be put over onto our system so more people can play it. Whether or not they will, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what the uptake is of the Nintendo Switch Online. I imagine it's probably got a little bit bigger since they included the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis and the Nintendo 64 stuff. But the original collection, the NES collection, I can't imagine people... If they did, it would have just been a quick 20-minute nostalgia trip. I don't think people are picking up their Switches just to play that catalogue of games.
Yeah.
Which is a shame to say. But the games that have run their course, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I can see the expansion stuff. So the article mentioned that having official emulators, so the Switch Online is basically that emulation access. Having those official emulators on third-party stuff has never happened. But it's also until fairly recently, not happened on the Switch. They've only started rolling that stuff out. So just because it's never happened before doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And like you say, if you can open up subscriptions to something that is effectively a dead revenue stream, if you can sell the 80s and 90s and 2000s in the 2020s, and get cash for it these days, then why not? Even if it's on someone else's platform, you're selling your stuff in someone else's shop. You're still selling your stuff. Yes, you are showing that there's a reason to have someone else's shop, but you're still selling your stuff. You can take it at any point in time, as does happen with all subscription services. Games come and go from Game Pass. Games come and go from PS Plus, and so on. So yeah, it could be that. It could be that. I mean, the games, like, obviously the article paints a few pictures of what it could be. It could just be that it's available on the Nintendo Switch device and not directly competitive with Game Pass. It could be a phrase like that, rather than on the Switch device and another device, or and another format. It could be some other way of putting that in. I do feel like it's one of those finger in the wind, you don't know what it is. But if I was going to put my hat on something that's potentially sexy, it could be Nintendo branching out and going elsewhere. And I'd probably say that with a little bit of hope, because Nintendo doesn't play well with others. Nintendo likes others playing its stuff exactly to its rules and how it should be. Yeah. Nintendo is Monica from Friends. Like, yeah, you can sit in the living room and you can have a drink as long as you put your drink on a coaster. None of this like, oh, you show me how coasters are cool, and you can flip coasters on the table and catch them in the air and stuff. No, Monica doesn't want to know that, because that's not what coasters are for. Nintendo is Monica. Nintendo is, okay, if you're drinking our drink and putting it on our mat, jobs are good. But if you start doing anything a bit different, you're like, what? You want to play the games online? You want to co-stream it on YouTube and stuff? Nintendo starts shaking a little bit. So actually someone else making money off of their IP elsewhere, it's a wonderful idea, but Nintendo has to get there first. So I would love for that to be the thing, which is actually quite a good jumping off point. Because the next story isn't that far away and kind of ties into that. That's the reason why I was thinking, if you'd have asked me, will Nintendo allow Microsoft to sell Nintendo games? No, I do not think they will. Nintendo wants to sell Nintendo games. Nintendo just wants everyone to play their games on their system, and feels that that's not an unreasonable ask. I know it's not a realistic ask, because, people go, okay, well, I've got a PlayStation. Nintendo's got, okay, that's great, but get a Switch and then play my games. It's literally that ignorant stance sort of Nintendo. But when you get them striking up deals with the other first parties, like this one, Tom Phillips at Eurogamer says Microsoft and Nintendo signed a binding 10-year agreement for Call of Duty. And this is ahead of the EU hearing on Activision Blizzard deal today. So this is today's article from this morning. So Microsoft has announced it's finalized a 10-year agreement to launch Call of Duty on Nintendo platforms on the same day as Xbox, with full feature and content parity. The move is, of course, reliant on Microsoft's precarious-looking $69 billion deal to buy Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard going through. It's actually 68.7, but it's easier to say 69, and it's also better to say the word 69 because, internet reasons. It's not the first time we've heard of such an agreement. Indeed, Xbox boss Phil Spencer first mentioned a 10-year commitment with Nintendo for Call of Duty back in December. Microsoft has also tried to offer the same decade-long deal to PlayStation in a bid to calm its concerns over Xbox owning Activision Blizzard, but with little success. Today's announcement is well-timed, however, ahead of Microsoft's day in court trying to argue its case for a deal with the EU's European Commission, one of three major regulators currently standing in the way of it passing. This morning, Microsoft President Brad Smith announced the contract with Nintendo in a tweet, which initially appeared to suggest a much wider agreement, quote, to bring Xbox games to Nintendo's gamers as part of the company's commitment to bring Xbox games and Activision titles like Call of Duty to more players on more platforms. Interesting. However, an accompanying statement from Microsoft mentioned only Call of Duty by name. There's no word on when exactly this deal might begin or what Nintendo hardware Microsoft is referring to, should the Activision Blizzard deal be agreed later this year. The earliest we'd likely see the deal beginning would be in 2024, when the current Switch is expected to have been replaced. Microsoft will meet with the EU today in a behind closed doors session in Brussels, where it is reportedly expected to offer further remedies to European regulators to assuage their anti-competition concerns. Final decision on the deal by the EU is then due in April. So, Nintendo can play with others. Nintendo can have other people put their games on their hardware. To quote the middle bit of that article, Microsoft President Brad Smith announced the contract with Nintendo in a tweet, which initially appeared to suggest a much wider agreement. Quote, to bring Xbox games to Nintendo's gamers as part of the company's commitment to bring Xbox games and Activision titles like Call of Duty to more players on more platforms. So Xbox are making it sound like they've got a lot of stuff coming to Nintendo, potentially, including Call of Duty. Obviously, that's the big one. But their games will be now appearing on Xbox's systems. So Xbox and on Nintendo systems. So Xbox and Nintendo can play well. Nintendo can play with others, and Nintendo can use others' content on their systems. And if Microsoft does acquire Activision Blizzard, they're going to be giving Call of Duty away free as part of Game Pass. So that game will be free on Game Pass. You'd have to then imagine that it's going to be free on Nintendo. Does that mean Game Pass is coming to Nintendo, or is it going to be a purchase deal like we were talking about with PlayStation? It's interesting. There's so many ways to crumble this down, but yeah, Bib, thoughts?
Yeah. I feel like this is just an agreement in principle in terms of a golden handshake. We will begin to, because let's not forget, there is very little first-person shooters on the Nintendo Switch. Like, we've got Doom, we've got Wolfenstein, we've got Modern Combat, which is a mobile game that's been ported over.
Nice. Okay, let's give it a second to get back online. Message from the sponsors. Okay then. Yeah, go on. Let's go. You want a message from the sponsors? The sponsors. Okay, we'll get rid of that. We'll come back into the scoop split. Is the sponsor Sky? I mean, imagine. Like, Sky probably get more coverage on this channel than any of our sponsors do, although it's not necessarily favourable coverage. But they get mentioned probably more times than any other fucking... So yeah, sorry, Bib. Just before my internet shit the bed again 3 times today, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying about the fact that the Nintendo Switch doesn't have a type of esports shooter. It doesn't have a Battlefield. It doesn't have a Call of Duty. However, it does have Doom games. It has a Wolfenstein game. It has a Modern Combat, which is obviously a mobile game that's been pretty much ported over there. It does have the likes of Fortnite. It does have Rogue Company. It does have Realm Royale. I mean, these are all Battle Royale games that I'm mentioning here, so you take from that what you will. But in terms of a Call of Duty game, we haven't seen them since the Wii U. So this feels to me like it's a golden handshake to say, do you know what? We'll bring back a AAA FPS game to a Nintendo Switch console or a Nintendo console, whatever that might be in the future. But it also shows that a working relationship can be had with the Call of Duty brand. And I feel like this, when it ends up it's still continuing to go to court. Activision just going to point at Nintendo and say, "Look how easy this was. We can work with other people. It's just that PlayStation are being extremely difficult about it." So I feel like this is just another case. This is portfolio work for Activision to be able to work with another brand, and yeah, you're going to use this probably against PlayStation, with obviously Activision and Xbox trying to join forces and have a merger. But I can't see this being a free-to-play game over on the Nintendo Switch console or a Nintendo console in the future, unless that they're going to move Warzone over. I can't see the paid content becoming a free version of it like it will most likely do when it goes over to Game Pass. I think this is just literally them saying, we haven't brought one over for the last 6 or 7 years to your Nintendo console since the Wii U. This is how it's going to go in the next 10 years. But 10 years is a hell of a long time. And I mean, in this product cycle, we've had the Nintendo Switch for 6 or 7 years.
My name is Optimus Prime.
We might only get another generation out of it, because I can see the Nintendo Switch going on for the next 3 years. Like, despite us meant to be getting a new one, there's still so much that the Nintendo Switch can offer, especially with indie games, with some first party Nintendo Switch games. Like, we've got a lot of movement and wiggle room with this. So, yeah, I think they're just covering himself for the time being. And this is literally portfolio work for them to say PlayStation are being difficult. We're not.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. I reckon you are right. Let me just stop for just a second and say, Gagad, thank you for 29 months with your Optimus Primer. We appreciate that. Beautiful man. It's 29 months, though. It still feels like 5 seconds since that golf stream. Anyway, that's a big old tangent. Yeah. It's been a while, Gagad. Hey, thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah, there is no coincidence with the timing of this. They need something to go, look, we can work with others and we will give games to other people for 10 years. Look how good we are. And I believe Microsoft, I genuinely do believe Microsoft fully believe and are true to their words whilst they are saying them. Next week, once that has been passed, is a very different story. And this is a phrase that this is a sentiment that gets passed around quite a bit in the industry, is Phil Spencer saying that they intend to allow people to keep playing Bethesda's games is great. He said that and he was truthful. But then all of a sudden it was like, actually, we want to keep you playing the games that you've already been playing. The new stuff, we just want to keep to ourselves. And it's like, well, okay, but the next Doom and the next Skyrim and the whatever are still being played by PlayStation players, or should still be played by PlayStation players. No. We never said that we will keep new games coming. We want you to keep connected to the games that you know and love. And that is Doom Eternal, not Doom Eternal 2, because you don't know that yet. So I fully believe what Xbox are saying and believe right now. They fully believe it themselves. But business is business. Stuff changes, and if there is a way to squeeze extra profit legally, that might not be ethically right, but it's 100% legally fine, then it'll happen. So they're using this as a 10-year binding agreement handshake example with another massive first-party hardware brand. They're going, okay, well, Sony PlayStation are the problem here. Nintendo are clearly on board with this. PlayStation aren't. It's a different concept, though. Even the way that we will talk about this is Xbox and PlayStation are your main consoles, and the Switch is your alternative console. And I know that's not necessarily the way for everyone. A lot of people will have the Switch as their only console. But for a lot of people, that is the way it works. And that means that if that is the case, then Nintendo isn't a direct competitor to Xbox like PlayStation is. So someone that has some crossover but operates in different verticals isn't an actual competitor. So Nintendo have the freedom to do that. PlayStation don't. But Microsoft aren't bothered about that. It's a good enough example. Someone that has the third highest selling console of all time. We're talking console sales here, ladies and gentlemen. It's the exact same thing. It's not. It's not. But in a court of law where people don't really know the nuances and stuff like that, if they haven't done their due diligence, then this could just be all the smoke and mirrors that Xbox need to just make their point be, belt and braces. I don't believe it is. I believe, okay, you are probably paying over the odds for whatever deal that you're having with Nintendo. Say if it should be a $500 million deal. I don't know what the numbers are. I'm just picking round numbers. $500 million $million deal. Dill. Nice. They might have spent $600-700 just so that they can get across the line. And then, as Baby mentioned, portfolio piece. A portfolio piece costing $200 million might sound a lot, but not when it's $69 billion. That $200 million is pocket change that's just falling off the end. We are literally losing more than $200 million to call it $69 billion. It's actually 68.7. So that's $300 billion that we just ignore to round it up. So that money is just the rounding up. So it's a lot of money that they'd like to keep. But if it means that they get $69 billion worth of acquisition and keep Call of Duty the biggest selling game franchise of all the franchises of all time, then easy dubs. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, though. Obviously, we won't find out until April. We might start to get some stuff coming out by the end of the day, depending on how that is. With it being a behind closed door conversation court case, I don't know whether that is something that people can go in and spectate. I don't know if that is the case. If it is, expect some spicy bits coming out. And if it isn't, still expect spicy bits coming out, but it might just be in a couple of weeks' time because they will have to share what has been discussed in court. It just means that you'll get some of it redacted. Often, as we've seen today, though, redacted could be the spiciest part about it. Ooh,
yeah.
What could that be?
It's weird, isn't it? Like a court of law, unless it's a personal matter. Do you think that most things should be redacted? Because it feels like it obviously it's for the sake of the argument that's being told at that time that it can't be used anywhere else because it might something that be like patent pending or they've just got like an embargo on it. But like you say, half the stuff that's going to be told in there is literally going to be redacted. It wouldn't surprise me if there was just one page that came out of it and the whole conversations was redacted. Like we might never find out what's been said behind these doors. It might just be a case of someone's putting a social media message out saying that we've come to an agreement, but no issue as to why and what happened in the first place. So
yeah,
it's a tricky one for us to be able to try and navigate.
I mean, having not owning a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar business and having to have these conversations and so on, and being someone that is a consumer of content on these platforms, I mean, I'm thinking just make them put it all out in the open. I want to see all their dirty laundry because I feel like consoles and console manufacturers, and this applies to both PlayStation and Microsoft and Xbox, to Sony and Microsoft, they will share stats with you if it suits an agenda, but they won't share stats with you if it doesn't. And I don't like that. I do not like that. So like when we get video game chart stats now, we get that from hardware sales because stores are sharing stuff. Or we get Steam charts because a store is sharing stuff. But when that store is owned and operated by the first party itself, we don't actually share console numbers of sales. So Xbox will share you shitloads of people that have signed up to Game Pass because it's smashing it, because it's ahead of PS Plus. But they won't tell you how many consoles that they've sold. Not until they've got a massive milestone, because we want to keep that news ready for when we share that, because that's a news story that people can use against us, and we only want it to be used in our favour, which is very self-centered and very selfish, and it's very business-oriented. Any business will PRify stuff. If they've got to make an announcement, it'll always be why it's good for them. There will never be any negatives and stuff in there. And I love, when it comes to court and stuff like this, we see stuff that we wouldn't get. Fact, we've seen it already with the Apple versus Epic case. Lots of details, lots of data. We know how much Epic was paying for its games, free games and so on. Free game.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So that sort of stuff we don't see, because it's not for you to see. We don't want you to see behind the curtain to see how the game works. We just want you to see, like, it's a magician with a magic trick. We want you to be wowed at the stuff that we put in front of you. But then if you see that actually there was a woman squashed, cramped up in that box all along, she just stood up at the end and it made it look like she came out of nowhere, you'd be like, oh, it's actually not that exotic really. It's just you squashed a woman up that's quite bendy in a box. It's actually a bit disappointing when you think about it, really. but that's what it is. Like, so these cases and stuff, I love the fact that we do get to see some stuff. So for me, I'm like, well, if you want to discuss this, and it's for the good of the people, as you keep saying, for the good of consumers, let's have a look at it all. Whop it out. Let's everyone have a look. If it's for the good of consumers,
for the greater good.
Yeah, exactly. If it is for the greater good, then let us be the judge of that. Let me see what you're trying to do. Obviously, that's not ever how it's going to work, but that's what I'd like to see. PlayStation is the superior console, though. JMK once again dropping absolute fact bombs in the chat. Anyone that's on Xbox, unlucky. Welcome in, Corrupt. Speaking of being on Xbox, how you doing, dude? OG Snowflake. Well, let's go, baby. Good to see you in, dude. How you doing? Hope you're, I was going to say Monday, but it's Tuesday, right? It's definitely Tuesday. It just feels weird because I'm not sat next to Bibby there, where I usually am on a Tuesday, but hey. Oh, do you know what? A little bit of a tangent. I'm at home today because I'm supposed to be going to see a gig tonight. I'm not going to say anything about it, but said gig is no longer happening. And the only reason we know is because we've been chasing Ticketmaster for the last 3 months about when do we get our tickets? Are they going to show in our account? They're like, yeah, up until the last, couple of days. So then yesterday it was 48 hours. We're like, still no tickets, despite chasing the folk. Only today they went, oh, by the way, yeah, it's because it's been rearranged. So yeah, you actually got no to go to tonight. Sorry, it's actually next month now.
no, when's it been rearranged for?
Middle of March. So it's not that far. It's only 3 or 4 weeks ish, which isn't that bad. It's just the fact that now we get basically a reset. That means that we're going to wait until 2 days before that event before they go, oh, actually, yeah, we'll talk to you about your tickets now. So the same thing's going to happen again. We'll get until 2 days before that event. We'll go, okay, we'll have a conversation about these tickets. So nice. Sony and Microsoft fighting over everything, and Nintendo, the real MVP, sat there reaping the rewards. Also, weird to announce this when they don't own COD. It's like selling stuff on eBay on pre-order when you don't actually have the product. Do you know what? Actually, you reminded me then. I meant to scroll back up to catch a few bits. So Neil did jump in with some stuff as well. I just want my sprinkles back. Unlucky! Bean says thanks, by the way, Neil. David says, imagine how I felt reading that back being dyslexic. So if you missed the previous story, there was a lot of long words, a lot of long sentences in there. Nintendo hate anything that needs to be done properly, aka esports, or any activations. Worst company I have worked with. I've seen that sentiment shared quite a lot. If you fall in line with them and what you want to do is in line with what they want to do, exceptional company. If it's different and, social, then yeah, maybe not so much. So there's been a lot of like Nintendo, like we covered Nintendo squashing. I want to say Smash. It might not have been Smash, but they basically worked with a company to deliver some Smash tournaments and then just pull the plug on them the last couple of seconds. It was over the last couple of months. You're probably aware, and it's you're in the FGC, so you understand. That's the fighting game community for anyone that doesn't understand. I love me some Mario Brothers on the good Saturday morning after cartoons. Ooh, the good old days. Yeah. Wait, everyone plays this game this way for events. Nah, I got to make it friendly for people who doesn't know anything about games. Yeah, it's Nintendo's like, what was it? The kind of funny call it. They call it WNDs, weird Nintendo decisions. Rather than WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, they've got WNDs, weird Nintendo decisions, where they just go, fuck it, yeah, you're all having fun and you've got an esports environment, which families can enjoy esports. They aren't two different things. However, esports and family are different things, and that's not a bad thing. So if you want to make something for esports, have esports be your primary function. It's the most obvious statement in the world. If you want to do esports. But then they go, no, we want to do esports, but we need it to be openly accessible by families for all these extra things. And it's just like, that's not esports. That's family content. You're missing the point. And that's where Nintendo sits. They think they can do everything, and people will just, like the way I said it before, fall in line. You use our stuff exactly how we say it, and we are fine. If you want to use our stuff how it should be used, different. Good after morning, gents. Xbox boss. Good after morning, Gagad. And then this is where we catch up with where Jordan said the same thing again. Yes, it is weird to announce it when they don't own Call of Duty, but this is that big dick energy, the Nintendo Microsoft flex. If you start talking about it as if you own it, if you start acting like you own it, it can go one of two ways. You can either force the CMA and the EU to go, actually, yeah, well, there's all these deals in place that are potentially making all these jobs that are going to turn over all this revenue. Nintendo are on board, so we might as well just give it to them. It'll be easier and less of a headache for us. And that is probably what they're hoping. The fact that they've already had it agreed in Brazil, effectively, and both companies want it, they're just going, fuck it, we'll just brute force it. It is what it is. The upside, the other side of that is the CMA and the EU go, oh, you want to be Mr. Big Dick, do you? Well, fuck you. You've already started this shit, so we're going to stop everything until you unpin all that stuff, and then we can have a proper conversation. It could happen that way. It probably won't, and it probably won't influence the CMA either. But it just shows Microsoft feel that, yeah, do you know what? Fuck it. We're all right. Which, this is the first point within this whole thing where I actually dislike Microsoft in the situation. Because obviously I'll banter and take the piss for the fuel the console wars. I don't actually care if I've got an Xbox, so if Xbox gets Call of Duty for free, then it's even better for me. Job's good. But them buying Call of Duty is a tectonic shift in the landscape that could have massive negative permutations, but I haven't really seen evidence for why it will be negative yet. That is undisputable. But this is the first time where I've seen some negatives, and it's Xbox just going, fuck it, we are too big to fail. That phrase that we've used quite a few times recently. It's that sort of thing. Fuck it. If we get Nintendo on board and we're Microsoft and we want Call of Duty together, that makes us too big to fail. And that is too big. That is mega corporations like the Epic versus Apple doing what they feel is best for them. For the consumer, no, you're taking 30% off of every transaction. Why? Because you are too big for anyone else to say otherwise. This is the first time in all of this where I've not liked what Microsoft have done something. Yes, definitely Taco Tuesday, where we eat tacos like a sniper on our bellies. Ooh, okay, go on then. I'll get on my belt buckle and I'll have a couple as well. Yes, please. Middle of March, I will go to Tirana. I don't know where that is. Back. Can you hear that? That's Mallow outside in the garden. Nice.
I thought he was just barking at you.
Cheers, Lake. Thank you very much. He's had a rough day. Nice. Aging superhero. Are you talking about Putin? Phil Spencer. Same sort of thing. You know, you don't get that sort of stuff on PlayStation side. It's basically nice. Okay. Speaking of PlayStation, let's go from bad guy Xbox to good guy Sony. What? Nice. Miguel Luis Lado at Game Rant. Apologies if I've butchered your name, Miguel, but I'm going to pretend that it was perfect. Yeah, nice. Sony reportedly acquires new studio, Ballistic Moon. Sony adds another one to the list of studios it has acquired, as Ballistic Moon has reportedly been acquired under its umbrella. Excuse me. Sony allegedly adds another studio to its growing family with the acquisition of Ballistic Moon. Ballistic Moon is a southeast England-based development studio founded by former Supermassive Games staff who worked on games such as the Until Dawn series. Companies like Sony and Microsoft are no strangers to acquiring other studios in their search for more exclusive games for their respective consoles, so this doesn't come as much of a surprise. A few of Ballistic Moon's staff have worked heavily on Until Dawn, so it's not much of a reach to see Sony take an interest in the studio. After all, Until Dawn and its spin-offs look to be staying PlayStation exclusive for the time being and have performed well there. Perhaps Sony has seen value in Supermassive Games products and, by extension, those who've worked for that studio. If the staff who were part of Ballistic Moon can recreate the magic brought about by Supermassive Games, it could mean more excellent projects in the future. In any case, financial services firm PitchBrook has posted an entry about Ballistic Moon. On the page, it states that Ballistic Moon was founded in 2019 and currently has 47 employees. However, an extra detail to note is that the ownership status is labelled as acquired/merged, with its parent company labelled as Sony. While Sony's Ballistic Moon acquisition was previously just speculation, this listing proves that Sony has officially made a studio a part of its big umbrella, regardless of it being a merger or an acquisition. Hopefully, this could mean more exclusives in the same vein as Until Dawn, as that game did really well on the platform. It is rumoured that Ballistic Moon is working on a title called Project Bates, as several old tweets from the developer's official Twitter account indicate. Checking from the company's Twitter account, it seems that it has been hard at work with hiring staff for possible future projects, so that indicates a sign of good things to come. We'll stop there. Miguel Luis Lado at Game Rant has the article that says Sony has reportedly acquired new studio Ballistic Moon. Thoughts, babe?
Yeah, I'm just having a look through their portfolio now, and I can only see Until Dawn, so they might not have. I mean, they was only established in 2019, so they obviously haven't got that much of a deep, rich history. But I mean, Until Dawn was a fantastic game. I'm interested to see. They must have some other things in the pipeline for PlayStation to sit up and take notice. So I'm excited to see where this goes in the future. They're not Bethesda, they're not Activision Blizzard, they are Ballistic Moon, and I've checked that. I've just actually followed them on Twitter. 914 followers, so it's not as if that they can be seen to buying up all of the competition based off of that. Clearly, they're going to be something massive. They're going to hopefully be another studio that's going to be churning out these AAA games going forward. But at this moment in time, they are still in their infancy. Like, they've had an absolute banger, but they need to continue to be able to put those kinds of games out. And obviously, Sony can see something that maybe we can see based off of the biggest game that they've ever put out. But hopefully something that they've got firing in the background that makes them think. Like, it doesn't tell you how much they've acquired them for. So I imagine it's probably not a lot of money, but enough money to be able to keep that studio going with the 40 staff that they've got, the overhead costs for the building, all the software, all the IT stuff, all of the animation packages that they're going to need to be able to create games in Unreal Engine 5. Like all of these things that the casual user doesn't really think of. They just think of a 40-person team maybe working for a pittance and then being able to put out these games. Like Sony tend to have a nice duty of care, and so do Microsoft, so do Nintendo. Obviously, there's always been discrepancies about workplace environments and paying and stuff like that. But in terms of looking after what I imagine this new company is going to be, you've got a pretty decent company looking after you there. So good luck to Ballistic Moon. Again, so Sony wouldn't have bought you if you don't have some sort of decent future ahead.
Yeah. It's not the first time that Sony have bought into New Blood either. So Sony did buy Bungie recently, which is not New Blood. That's Bungie was pretty much Xbox. They brought you the Halos and things originally. So Sony buy big names. But Sony also last Easter, it was 21st of March, it was announced on the PlayStation blog. So almost a year. We're 21st of February today. So 11 months ago, they announced that they acquired Haven Studios, which is the one that's Jade Raymond, which I believe was like ex-Google and ex-EA or something like that. I can't remember where she worked, but shitloads of experience in her and the team that she had, and had set up a new studio, and PlayStation instantly bought into that. There's always a risk when you're buying into a new studio, even though it might be chock full of talent. To use a football analogy, you can grab a Ronaldo and an Erling Haaland and a Messi and Mbappe and throw them all together, but just because you've got a squad of Galacticos doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. But if it does, you have billions of potential that you will get for maybe not even financial outlay in terms of, okay, it's going to cost us X million to buy this studio. Maybe it's just a case of, okay, we will pay your setup costs and we will pay your wages continuously, even though you don't have any products, because we know that you could smash your first title that you bring along. And PlayStation, it's quite interesting because you've got two sides of the coin there. You've got, I mean, not that it's Microsoft's the big spender and PlayStation's the crafty little independent. It's definitely not that way. PlayStation have definitely splashed the cash themselves. Bungie was an expensive purchase on its own. But you've got Microsoft going for the 69 billions and the 11 billions or whatever it was for your Bethesda for 11 billion and your Activision for 69 billion. But then you've got PlayStation snapping up New Start Haven, snapping up New Start, what was this one? Ballistic Moon. So it's two different approaches that are both viable. It's good though, because the games industry is one of the only places where you can get that. You can get top tier talent, drop out of a company, and then be picked up for nothing. Like in banking, some dude leaves the Bank of England after screwing it over for 20 years and will still get picked up by fucking Credit Suisse or something and given another bajillion-dollar salary because he's worth it, kind of thing. PlayStation, you could be Herman Hulst, head PlayStation Studios, and then drop out and then start up your own studio and get snapped up by Xbox next week for £8. And it's like, what the fuck? So PlayStation are acting pretty coy with their cash, but Microsoft are acting stupidly clever by spending a lot of cash as well. So it just shows you how you could potentially impact on the entire industry when it's in a heavy acquisition phase like it is, in two very different ways. So yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about Ballistic Moon beyond Until Dawn, which I haven't played. Surprise, surprise.
It's not a great game.
It's not PUBG, so surprise, surprise. I do own it, but I haven't played it. I mean, I think everyone's owned it. It's been free like a bajillion times as well. So yeah.
Samantha played through it as well. I think it's got a Hayden Panettiere, I think, is the lead in it. It's got Rami Malek in it as well.
How's it got? I didn't know about Rami Malek. Okay. Yeah, I know lots of people that have said it's a really good scary game. Like, it's not just about jump scares. It's good about the way that it does a decent story and all that sort of stuff. And it sells well, as according to this article. So in that sense, it's not the developers, but it's a lot of the development team. So PlayStation picking them up, easy dubs. Yeah, nice. Speaking about Bungie as well, PlayStation did acquire Bungie for a few billion. Maybe a few million, a few hundred million. I can't remember what the figure was. But do you know what? Would go a nice way to offsetting that cost is just taking in $4.3 million in cash. And that's exactly what Bungie will do. Ish. Philip GALEKOVIC at Game Rant has the article. It says Bungie wins $4.3 million in arbitration against Destiny 2 cheat creator. One of Bungie's anti-cheat lawsuits pays off, with a prominent Destiny 2 cheat maker liable for costs and damages in excess of $4 million, says the tagline. Like I say, getting that 4.3 and being awarded that 4.3 is a bit different, but we'll jump into it. So Bungie has been awarded $4.3 million following a lawsuit against the prominent Destiny 2 cheat maker, signaling the company's first major legal victory in this context. The creator of Marathon, Halo, and Destiny has had plenty of problems with cheating over the years, to the point where its endgame tier competitive multiplayer modes were often beset with cheaters attempting to easily earn high-end rewards. Most notably, Destiny 2 cheaters entered raid race events in the past, attempting to make a name for themselves in the game's most prestigious competitive content. Lol. These attempts don't appear to have been successful so far, but the notion of there being widespread cheating seems to have rubbed Bungie the wrong way, sending the company off on a bit of a crusade against cheaters in the court of law. According to prominent Destiny 2 news tracking Twitter account Destiny Bulletin, Bungie has won $4.3 million, won a $4.3 million award following its litigation against cheat maker Aim Junkies. While the legal struggle was anything but straightforward, Aim Junkies was eventually hit with a hefty fine of $3.6 million plus an additional sum of $738,000 in fees. Being one of the most prominent cheat providers for a variety of popular titles, Aim Junkies was one of the first companies that Bungie went after, and it appears that its legal gambit has finally paid off. It's worth highlighting the fact that Bungie's claims against Aim Junkies got dismissed at first, with the cheat maker successfully arguing that its application wasn't an example of copyright and trademark infringement. Instead, Aim Junkies' lawyer said that Bungie didn't have a case on the provided basis, as the hacks players used were fully original and didn't rely on any official Destiny 2 code to function. The story continued later that year when Aim Junkies issued subpoenas to Valve, PayPal, and Google to show how its cheats did not, in fact, infringe upon Bungie's own copyrighted material and instead behaved more like Valve's Steam overlay interface. This appeal, however, did not pan out for Aim Junkies, as the judge saw no merit in this course of argumentation, which led to its dismissal. Lol. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I made it as a butter knife. It's not my fault that someone stabbed someone else in the face with it. It's kind of what they're getting at, but it's a whole different kettle of fish. I mean, butter knives aren't meant to kill someone, but you can kill someone. Just in the same way that you could beat someone to death with an iPhone doesn't mean that. Yeah, anyway. Bungie explained why it's going after cheaters late last year. Bungie's general counsel, Don McGowan, said that the company wanted to bolster its community of players and get rid of malicious, unfair elements plaguing it. Being litigious about it for a long enough period of time seems to have been successful in this regard. With the Aim Junkies now seemingly out of the picture, Bungie's legal team is sure to be even more hawkish on this front. GG's! I mean, because I made something specifically to allow people to cheat in your game, but didn't look at your notes and doesn't reference your notes when you did it, it's still the outcome. It's still the aim. Yes, Steam has an overlay on when you're playing games and so on, that take that game and heighten the experiences for the players. Doing that to completely negate someone else's software and someone else's purpose for a product, and therefore not just increase the enjoyment for some losers that need to cheat, but also decrease the enjoyment for others, is a completely different argument than saying, well, if someone uses a butter knife to kill someone, it's not my fault. It's not the same but different. A butter knife and a knife are similar things, but a Steam overlay and a cheat are not similar things. Technically, you could go about it in a similar sort of way of describing it, but they are not similar things. The end purpose is completely different, so no, not having it. And I'm glad that the judges saw it and threw that straight out. Thoughts,
an overlay. An overlay should be used for, like it does in ESO and World of Warcraft. An overlay would be something that directs you to your next quest, that might be able to tell you something more information-wise about what's available on your map, not something that is pre-programmed for you to, let's say, shoot through a wall, or never fail in getting a headshot, or being able to carry more items, or being able to shoot your gun without the need of reloading. Like, all of these things that might not necessarily be the case with this cheat, but that is essentially what it all comes down to. So, yeah, thank God that someone with a little bit of common sense in the courtroom's gone, actually, you're being a bit of a dick.
Yep.
So we're going to be able to. I mean, it's outrageous how much have been fined. Like, that just shows you how much that people would have been paying for this in the first place. Like $4.3 million. Wow.
Nice.
That is a ridiculous amount of money. So clearly it was at such a high level worth of a cheat that they feel the need to be able to find them that much in the first place. So yeah, there is a night and day difference in what an overlay can achieve and what a cheat can achieve. There isn't usually that much of an overlap between them. One of them is usually something that gives you the advantage within the game, a cheat, or something that will be able to give you more information based off of the information that you get within the game, i.e. the way to go for your next quest or where the item's located on the map. Like they're not cheats. They are giving you a little bit more detail about things. You still have to go over there and achieve those things yourself. Like, for instance, on Elder Scrolls Online, there is like a lib that you can put in Minion that will then tell you on the map where some of the collectibles are. That's not a cheat because you're not interfering with anybody else's game. It's literally like, go to this destination, you'll be able to find what you're looking for. If you get there and there is still a boss there, it will not help you with it. It will just tell you where the entrance to that cave is. It's basically like looking for a walkthrough. That's what an overlay should do. Not give you the advantage in a 1v1 battle. Like, that doesn't fly. Like, I'm glad that there's someone in the courthouse that knows and understands the difference between those two things.
Yeah. And so often that stuff gets missed because when people don't understand, I'm glad that someone has put the time in to properly squash this. And $4.3 million is a chunk of cash. But as we've seen in the past, when we had, was it in China or it may have been Korea? I can't remember. It was the reason I'm not sure is I know it's an Asian country, but China is usually where cheats are built, but Korea is where PUBG is formed, and there was shitloads of cheats that were making cheat makers that were making cheats for PUBG and others that got shut down. But they had ways of making their cash accessible, and that is to put it into cars and so on. So they stormed this fucking warehouse, and there was all sorts of fucking supercars and all sorts of other bits in there, as well as cash and plus digital cash that they still had and crypto and all the other things and so on. And it was hundreds of millions from them. So whether Destiny is at that level, I'm not sure. I don't know how much could be taken. I don't know what the scale of Destiny's financial operations are. If Destiny wouldn't have been out of pocket 4.3 million, but they've got it, well, that's what they deserve because of all the hard work that they've had to go through to get to this point, to be able to see it in court and to be able to have a ruling in their favour. So nice. If it's only a drop in the ocean, though, say it said Destiny are out of pocket 50 million and they've only got 4.3 million back, it's still not bad in that sense because what they have now is a precedent. It will be much easier for Destiny and Bungie to take down more cheat makers that are doing that sort of thing because they have a precedent of someone in court going, yep, that's bullshit, get to fuck. Yeet. So the next one, okay, I would just like to point you to ruling Bungie versus Dickhead on the 21st of February 2023. Nice. Okay. Yeet. That's an actual. That should have been outside the court. That should have been outside the courthouse on the wall. Bungie versus Dickhead. Nice. So yeah, 4.3 million, big payout. Hopefully, it covers a lot of the losses that they've got. Hopefully, it is worth it from the time that they've lost already, but it will definitely be worth it in the time and support that they will get from courts and stopping this stuff going forward. And then that trickles down to anyone else that wants to push the same sort of thing. If AIM Junkies, as the article said, operates in multiple areas and not just Destiny, then okay, if it does the same thing for GTA and if it does the same things for Call of Duty and it does the same things for whatever, then yeah, all pile on. Get involved. It must do. It must be cover. It must cover everything because there is no. I mean, I'm not having a go at Destiny by any stretch of imagination because I know that they do have a massive player base. But $4.8 million based off just Destiny, they must have had a look at stuff across the board because there's no way that I don't think they would have been able to get that much money from just Destiny. I'm happy to be proven wrong with that. Obviously, Destiny is available on everything. It was available on Google Stadia for fuck's sake, and look where what happened to that.
but I just don't think that it has the staying power of $4.8 million. Like there must be more to it. But essentially I'm not asked because they have just been fucking done over with this.
I feel like it could do, though. I mean, I do agree with you. For me, in my mind and in my player base, beyond Nico Di Maria, I don't know anyone that's...
Legend.
and actually, Mark Farrington, Mark, he plays a lot of Destiny 2, also a legend. Beyond those two guys, I don't really know many other people directly. I know of content creators that play it, and it's their game or whatever, but direct people that are in my circle of influence kind of thing, I don't really know anyone else that plays it. But that could be my echo chamber as a different skew from the wider world. So, like Bib says, we're open to the idea that it could easily churn 4.3 million. It might not be the most played game anymore, but it might have a very invested audience that's happy to throw down cash on good quality content. And the raids and stuff I know are massively enjoyable from seeing those people approach those. So maybe it does make that. So maybe that 4.3 million is a drop in the ocean. Maybe it's the entire ocean. Either way, it's good news. So aim junkies. Sucker! Fucking, yeah, get the fuck. I love it when cheaters get shit on, but it's even more enjoyable when cheaters put themselves as the hard done to ones. The cheat makers have issued subpoenas to Valve, PayPal, and Google to show that they're not doing any cheats, and then still got found out. You love to see it. Oh, fucking yes, please.
I like it.
No, actually, we're not cheats. Let me see your homework. Which, imagine that. Imagine being these brands thinking, so this guy's already ripping off my game, my cash, and ruining my code, and now he wants access to my code to prove that he's not doing it. He wants me to give him further access, which probably opens the door for more shit later on. Ah, fucking, yeah. Get it. Get the fuck. Get it. But that's it. They've got it. We've got it. You've got it. We all got it. Let's got it. We're getting it. Nice. The story is, if you missed it, though, we're all about cash today, as the UK has just cost Nintendo shitloads of it. No, they haven't. They might have. They might not have. We don't know. It's just one of those clickbait lines that could be something huge or could be a bit of something and nothing. But until we know, we won't know. Basically, there was one line in a redacted piece of text that could suggest that the next Nintendo Switch is actually on the way and could be here soonish. We don't know. We'll see. After that, Microsoft and Nintendo have announced a 10-year agreement to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo consoles, despite Microsoft not owning Call of Duty, which is an interesting one. So we'll see how that cookie crumbles. Sony elsewhere have bought Ballistic Moon. They've acquired a new studio for themselves, and a studio that they previously purchased, Bungie, has just acquired itself $4.3 million in payout in arbitration against some cheating dickheads, which you'd love to see. You just absolutely love to see it. And that's it from us. So we are going to wrap things up. We appreciate you dropping in, sticking around with us for all 17 parts of this show. I am going to nerf the fuck out of my entire internet infrastructure. Again. I say again.
Give it a purge.
I've been meaning to do it properly. I don't need to tell you details. I'm going to turn everything off and on again, basically. That's what I'm going to do. Nice.
Yeah. If you need a support network, Graham, let me know. Let me try to turn it off and on back on again.
Let me go. It's already been off and on enough times today. So before we do anything else, let's get this wrapped up. So is there anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Bibb?
Yes, Graham.
Nice. Oh, that's cool.
No, okay. Did you want me to be a bit sponsored? Okay.
No, I just wanted to know whether you wanted to add it. I don't actually want to know.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for part 16 of the scoop today. That's 2 shows down. We still have 3 more left to go. So if you want to help shape any of those remaining shows, just like Fat Man Dave and JMK did today, there is 2 ways that you can do so. First of all, find us on across all major social media platforms. You should know the score by now. It's at Ice Cream Uploads across absolutely everything. Yeah. Or alternatively, if you're watching this on any of our on-demand services or listening to them, go into the description below. All the links that you require will be listed there for you. But all we need from you is a URL plus your first impressions. We will then give you our first impressions on the very next show, which will be at what time tomorrow? Mr. Graham Day.
As every day, we'll be live at 10 a.m. Fuck, me and P Honey have just done the exact same thing in the chat, which says socials, so you're going to get spammed by a million times. But we'll be live at 10 a.m. tomorrow-ish.
If the last 2 days are anything to go by, Christ knows. We had a 4:10. We've had a 1:30. Might even be pre-1, who knows?
I don't know. We'll see. Love a little spam. We've not had that for ages. I completely forgot the spam. Nice. Let's go, JMK. Mr. Swoosh, appreciate you dropping in, dude. Sup, Bread Bins. We are happy to see you in here, dude. Tirana is the capital of Albania. There you go. You learn something new every day. It's a guide, not a cheat. What is the Steam overlay or the Aim Junkie stuff? Because if you talk about the Aim Junkie stuff, then no, it's a cheat. But we'll let you off. As Dad would say,
nerdy brother.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's the one that's saying it. So, as Dad would say, it's better than a kick in the teeth. Yeah, if I had to choose between a kick in the teeth and $4.3 million, I'd probably choose the dollars. Savage, welcome back, dude. Good to see you in. Good to see you. Oh, come on, it was only 16. Yeah, sorry, 16 parts of the show. The internet did drop out a bunch of times. So if you have stuck around for all of that, we appreciate you very much. I was here on time. Ish. Yeah, nice. It's fine. You made it. That's all counts. That's our philosophy with streams. That's what we say for the viewers. Anyway, we are going to wrap things up. Stick around. We're going to drop a raid on one of our friends as we like to pass on some love. But from us, have yourselves a beautiful day. We'll see you 10 a.m. tomorrow for the scoop, and then tomorrow evening for some chasing crates with mates. Until then, though, stay frosty.